Chris McIntosh is gone. Wisconsin's athletic director, as first reported by the Wisconsin State Journal, he's not going. He's not winding down. He didn't give 2 weeks. He is gone to the Big Ten Conference to do a yet unspecified job. It's not going to be athletic director. Wild stuff, and as many issues as McIntosh has had, and as much criticism as he has faced from Wisconsin fans. And I did a podcast on this a few weeks ago on whether it was totally justified, my position being probably a little hard on him, but there were definitely some issues. But I feel like this is a situation where McIntosh either knows the writing is on the wall for him, or he is throwing his hands up saying, I don't want to be here. It's one of the two. Either someone was going to force him out, or it looked very possible that that was going to happen, or he didn't like the job. It's one of those two things, guys. I mean, I suppose there's a third track where someone could say the Big Ten Conference just is so in love with Chris McIntosh, they're throwing a ton of money at him and prying him away from the Badgers. I don't think that's what's happening. I mean, I know he's been making a lot of effort to try and increase the NIL funding for football, at least. He was facing a lot of scrutiny last fall based on the football team's lack of success, and definitely have been some headroads made as far as that money. But as Greg Gard's basketball program has shown us in the portal situation that's going on this offseason, that team doesn't have much money. Gard has basically all but said he's being a real team player about this, guys. But basically likening himself to Billy Beane of the Oakland A's and saying he's having to moneyball this. We're having to create guys like Nick Boyd and John Blackwell in the aggregate. And if you believe, the fact that there isn't a whole lot more money to be spent in the portal this year for the Badgers, and looking at some of the guys they're going after, I can't say it's wrong. I don't know. Maybe there's a Scott Hatteberg there somewhere the Badgers are going to land from, some mid-major. And I've been very, very complimentary of Greg Gard in the past with his portal efforts. Getting John Tonje, who is the 353rd ranked guy in his portal class, and turning him into an All-American in 1 year. I wouldn't bet against Gard, but Gard, I just coming off a year where he's able to kind of get the guys he wanted, or at least was competitive for many of them. You can just hear the weariness in his voice having to deal with this. And you and I have looked at the same Wisconsin roster for next season, and this is presuming that they get Nolan Winter back. That's not for sure. I feel good about keeping him, but where's the scoring going to come from? You got a pretty solid little point guard coming in from Australia, but and you got some guys that can put it in the basket, but losing Boyd and Blackwell and basically not replacing that scoring. I mean, we'll see what happens with the next couple weeks in the portal, but I am not at all, based on the people I've talked to. Not going to name names here, but these are people who know a lot more than I do. They are like, not great, scary. Not great at all. And a couple of these guys are super optimistic types who are in the know. So anyway, that's where we are with basketball and some other sports. Obviously hockey had a nice run here, but men's hockey and women's hockey. But McIntosh is gone, guys. This is it. The praying and hoping that so many of you have done who are McIntosh haters has come to fruition, probably even surprising you. So, what does it mean? Whatever the reason McIntosh left, and I've gone over the two sides of the coin I think it could be. Let's talk a little bit. This is just going to be a quick hitter, but let's talk a little bit about it. And by the way, if you're still listening and you have not subscribed to old Scary Alvarez, throw me one, please. I really appreciate it, and a like always helps. These computers don't like me that much on the YouTubes, so help them to like me more. I really appreciate it. But what does this mean? That's and I'm not going to be able to tell you with any great clarity for sure what it will mean, but I can give you some thoughts on the kind of person they need to go after. And it doesn't look much like Chris McIntosh. And I'm not trying to sound mean about this. That's not, again, by all accounts, a good dude. I mean, this isn't crap on Chris McIntosh, Tom. I've already said I wish him the best. But there were some things I think he probably would admit to you if you were friends with him that took him a little bit by surprise here with the way things are done, and maybe some skill sets that he would have liked to have a little more grounding in that would have come in handy in his time. So I think Wisconsin, I don't think this is even a close call. Recycling some old rah-rah jock, not going to work, guys. Don't do it. This isn't, not that J.J. Watt would have any interest in this, but this isn't, let's hire J.J. Watt. I've seen that all over the place. There might be some money things and fundraising things he could potentially thrive in, but he's not a businessman. I just feel like this moment calls for someone with legitimate experience running an athletic department. It calls for someone who's done it before. And I don't know if get a hot mid-major athletic director and bring him up to the big time. I'm not sure if that translates, because a lot of those mid-majors, in ways that wouldn't apply to things like coaching and recruiting, they simply don't have the the money things that the Big Ten has, in terms of you can be an athletic director at a MAC school, and yes, there are endowments and money and coaching, and there's some NIL too, but the level you have to step up to do the job that Chris McIntosh has been trying to do, it is a much bigger step up than like a coaching step up would be. So I really want, and I don't know how this happens. I don't know what kind of money's there. There's not even a chancellor right now. So I don't know how this all gets baked in the oven. But if I were king of the world, I would go after someone, and I'm spending money that they may not have, but I'm happy to do it because it costs me nothing. Really, really make every effort to get someone with Power 4 experience in the athletic department, with business experience in the athletic department, in a big time athletic department. So what that might mean is you're not going to go and steal Michigan's athletic director. I'm not sure I'd want Michigan's athletic director. That's a bad example, even though his teams are doing well. You're not going to steal Ohio State's athletic director, or Georgia's AD, or Texas's athletic director. You're not going to get someone at a big time school, but it's possible you could get an up and coming young athletic director at a Power 5, or an assistant athletic director who showed some chops, who showed that they can navigate this new crazy NIL world, who might have a thing or two to say about the transfer portal, who knows how to deal with non-revenue sports and revenue sports in a situation where, and basketball is a revenue sport, obviously, but to kind of expand upon that, you're getting towards the top of the Big Ten potentially for your football program, while completely neglecting your basketball program, men's basketball. Maybe there could be someone who knows enough about how things work and has ideas and business sense enough where that sort of thing wouldn't happen. I'm not saying it could never have to be a situation where Wisconsin, the AD would, prioritize football over other. Of course, football is always going to get the lion's share. But the stuff I'm hearing about basketball and the money they have, or more specifically, they don't have. And again, I've defended McIntosh relative to a lot of people, but that's on him, guys. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There are many things that went into that, but I am completely flabbergasted that Greg Gard doesn't, after yes, they lost the High Point, but the new look Badgers, high scoring, had some fun times this year, won some gigantic games, beat Michigan at Michigan, national title team. Why Greg Gard's having to go out with his, alms for the poor bit right now. This is just, that's not okay. And maybe, as I alluded to earlier, Macintosh wanted to help, couldn't help, and it's like, I am so done with this. The money just isn't there. I don't know, but that's a real chicken or egg thing, and I just don't know the ins and outs of that. I'd be honest with it, guys, I can speculate, but I don't know enough to say one way or the other for sure that's what it is. But anyway, I am curious to hear what y'all think, but my early thoughts are wild, and you got some reasons why he did it. Just not 100% sure, but this is a gigantic vote for the blue, and Luke Fickell. I mean, there's some real positive momentum in that football program, but this has to be a little scary for him too. When the guy who brought you in and has kind of tethered his boat to your dock since you've had some struggles in the last few years, that guy's gone. He's different captain, different boat, different sea. Straining the analogy badly. Fick has to be like, hey. So this is really interesting stuff, and I'm very curious to see where it goes. I have to believe you have to have a chancellor in place before you can even make a move on this. But Marcus Sudbury is going to be taking over the position for the time being, kind of steering the ship. I don't think he's going to be the guy. But I would love to hear some ideas y'all have. I don't have names. I could have fun names like J.J. Watt. Troy, I'm going to back up. Someone mentioned Troy Vincent. Someone could make a case for Troy Vincent. There's some things I don't know about his background in certain areas with budgets and things like that, but he has some real solid management side and labor side experience working with a gigantic corporation in the NFL. Yeah, he might be worth a look. And that's an alumni. I don't think you have to have an alumni. I really don't. I think that might be a little bit how we got into some of the issues we have now. It's okay to get someone from the outside. If there is someone who's a Badger or a Wisconsin native who has all the qualifications you are looking for in this, all the more power to him. I mean, that could be a tiebreaker, but I don't know, guys. I think you just got to have the widest net possible here and go after a Power 5 experienced talent, whether it's an AD, whether it's an assistant AD. And, hopefully you make this is, I say this is as important as any hire Wisconsin has had in a long time, including football coach. So, this is a monumental, wild bolt from the blue kind of thing that dropped on Sunday, and guess we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. There'll be much more to say about this. I'll probably do some more shows, grab some guests to come on and talk more in depth about candidates. That's not what this show is. This is more just getting it out there and curious what you guys think. Scary Alvarez out.